You already know it is read the comments. So I'm scrolling over by Reddit, you know, looking for some comment section that's going to make us giggle, chuckle, do something. And I saw this post that says, am I the hey all for boarding the plane leaving without my wife? Sir, why are you trying to get a divorce? Right? So let's see what was the reason for him doing this. Sorry ahead of time for the length of this one. It's going to be long, guys. But there's a lot of key details I think are important. I know how this sounds, but hear me out. This is also not my usual account, but I don't want to risk my wife seeing this as it is currently a sensitive subject. My wife, who is 43, and I, who is 47, have a daughter who is a female, 21, who goes to college out of state. Now, we will call my wife Meg, and we're going to call my daughter Jess. Jess is in her junior year of college. Over the summer, she was employed by her university and was able to stay in the dorms. After summer, she was moving out of the dorms and into her own apartment off campus. Meg and I live in the PNW, what is that? Northwest, Pacific Northwest. Meg and I live in the Pacific Northwest. Jess goes to school on the East Coast. Now, we usually go to visit Jess a couple times throughout the semester, typically parents' weekend and move out day. She also comes home during the holidays. Let me start by saying that traveling with my wife is not a great experience. Jesus Christ, sir. Your wife, if your wife ever see this, the divorce is sure. Okay. So let me start by saying that traveling with my wife is not a great experience. I am very type A. I like to have everything organized and make sure that we get where we need to be early, especially when traveling. Couldn't be married to me. My wife is the complete opposite. Very go with the flow, and we will get there when we get there. Period. Why are we rushing, sir? Please back up and leave me alone before you get me mad. I do my best to meet in the middle, but not when traveling by plane. Okay? So last year, during Parents' Weekend, Meg and I were going to fly out to see Jess. Our flight was at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our airport is not huge, but not a tiny airport either. So I told my wife that we needed to be at the airport 90 minutes early, and we live about 30 minutes from the airport. This being said, I wanted to leave at the very latest by 8 o'clock, since we would also need to park and walk a little bit. I, of course, got up at 6 to make sure everything was ready and accounted for. My wife, on the other hand, does not like to get up early. It took me attempting to wake her up 5 different times before she eventually got up at 7:40, then wanted to make coffee, shower, eat a bowl of cereal. Let's just say that we didn't leave the house until 9. It ended up being busier at the airport than normal, which is likely due to many colleges having parents' weekend, and it took so long to get through security that we missed our flight. I know he was mad. Rightly so, the airport refused to refund our ticket. We were able to get new tickets, but not until the next day, and we missed Friday afternoon and Saturday morning with our daughter. Jess was disappointed, to say the least. Fast forward to now. We were flying down for a long weekend to help her move. We take one flight from our town to a bigger town that's nearby, and then we fly from there to my daughter's college town. Again, it was a long morning of me pushing my wife, getting her to move along. Now, due to the last airport mishap, I wanted to make sure I told her we needed to leave extra early as to not miss the flight again. We got there on time, with a bit of time to even spare, and my wife was very annoyed. I understand why. Now, kept going on about how now we just have to sit and wait for 45 minutes for them to start boarding. We took our first flight and landed in the connecting city at a much larger airport. We only had about 1 hour layover. We got off the plane at 9:15 a.m. and our next plane started boarding at 9:40 a.m. We had to take multiple rails to get from where we landed to our terminal. We got to our terminal and we had about maybe 15 minutes until our plane was set to board. My wife tells me that she wants to get coffee. There was a little market next to our terminal that sold hot food and coffee. I asked if she wanted me to go grab it for her. She said, no, I want Starbucks. Oh my God. Well, Starbucks, we are rail wide away and a little bit of a walk. I told her we couldn't do that. With 15 minutes, miss, you definitely couldn't do that. We didn't have enough time. She stated that we had enough time, and if I wouldn't go with her, she would just go by herself. I did, in fact, try to discourage her, but she was determined. She walked away at a brisk pace for her and said she would be back in time. 15 minutes went by and she was nowhere to be seen. They started calling boarding groups. I called my wife, hoping she was nearby. She didn't answer. They called a few groups, then they called our groups. In a panic, I called my wife again, 3 times. Finally, on the last call, she answered and said she was on her way. It was a long line and she had to wait a bit. I told her they were almost done with boarding and she needed to hurry up. I waited by the gate, but the attendant said they would need to shut the gate in 2 minutes. I waited and I waited, but she didn't show up. The attendant asked if I wanted to board. Otherwise, she was going to close the gate. I tried to plead with her, please, miss, to wait a couple of minutes, but she insisted that she would not. So I boarded the plane. A few minutes later, my wife calls me saying that the attendant will not let her on and that they had already removed the boarding ramp at that point. She told me I needed to tell them to let me off the plane to be with her. And I said no. It is not fair to do this again to our daughter. It is not fair to do this to Jess. I said, I told you we didn't have time, but you decided to go anyways. I told her to go purchase a new ticket for the next flight and we would see her when she arrives. She got to Jess's school and seemed unbothered by the whole situation. Didn't even really talk about it. I thought maybe she realized it was her fault and just wanted to drop it. Boy, was I wrong. We are now home, and she has not spoken to me since the trip, over a week ago, and is insisting that I am a hole. So, am I the a-hole? There's an update. It says, wow. I know a lot of people say this, but I really didn't think this would get as big as it did. Now, thanks to everyone for the responses, and I've been trying to read them in batches when I have time because, I've been getting some good suggestions. I wanted to answer a couple questions I saw as well as add a bit of extra information. For those who are outside of the United States of America, PNW is the Pacific Northwest. As far as how she acts in other situations, she generally doesn't have any issues. She's never one to be late to work or anything like that, or it just seems like travel is her poor area. I never noticed things like this until we started traveling often to see our daughter. And this is why I never considered ADD or ADHD. She really shows no other signs of this. I saw a post implying that my wife might have an addiction of some sort. I'm not sure how that would line up, but I don't see that being a possibility at all. Okay. I didn't think the following information was important, but my daughter made a comment, and so did a friend that I discussed this with. So I thought maybe I would mention it here. Jess is not Meg's daughter. Ooh. Could that be the reason why? Jess is not Meg's daughter. I was married once before, and my wife unfortunately passed away due to complications during Jess's birth. I remarried Meg when my daughter was 6 years old. My daughter made a comment that Meg doesn't like or want to come see or help her, and that is why she's always running late. But I have offered to go alone, and Meg was always very against that idea, so I wouldn't think that is the case. Meg just wants you to herself. You and Meg don't have no children together? Do Meg not want kids? I mean, because that could also give a hint of Meg don't even be want no kids, and you know what I mean? All right, relevant comment from the up. I can't say that Meg and Jess have had the easiest relationship. Meg always wanted to have another child, but we were unable to conceive. Now, she did make comments that she wanted children of her own, and that caused a little rift in our relationship at the time because I wanted her to see Jess as her daughter. But they really never had the typical mother daughter relationship, and it was always very much pushed that Jess was my daughter. Sir, you don't need to ask us. The answer is in the pudding. The pudding is in the cake. Ugh. Sir, listen. Meg did make comments about being excited to have an empty nest, but I assume this was just because we would have more room. Some people can be oblivious, and I don't like that, especially when it's a parent. I don't like that. I don't like that, sir. Jess is a great kid and really never says anything bad about anyone, but she has made comments before stating that she thinks Meg is jealous of her, which is what I think too. But this never made sense to me. It does, because there are actual biological mothers to daughters that are jealous of the daughters. Weird. Okay, weird behavior. But this never made sense to me. She has also told me that she doesn't want Meg to come to her school for Parents Weekend and she would rather just spend it with just me or wait for Father's Weekend. I think Meg wants you all to herself, so that's not gonna happen, sir. But Meg always says she wants to go, and I've never gone without her. But if your daughter is telling you that she wants you to come by yourself, why are you forcing to bring the lady that was never really motherly along with you? I don't know. This being said, I have never seen any negativity that was directed at Jess from Meg or any resentment. Maybe I'm missing something. You think? Did you hear what you just said to us, sir? You basically told us that Meg is jealous because she couldn't have any kids for you. And I'm sure you doted on your daughter. One, it's the only child that you have. Two, she lost her mother at birth, so she really don't have no mother. So you're the only parent. So I'm sure you gave her a lot of love and affection. Meg wanted that. Meg wanted to have a child with you to see you have that with her child. Not only couldn't she not conceive, but now here she is raising a child that's not her own. And that she has to share your attention and affection with this kid. You have women that think like that. I never understand why people date people like that though. Why women date men that don't want their kids around, and how are you comfortable? And men that date women that don't like kids, don't want to have nobody kids around for no reason. She want to fight the mother of the child, like weird stuff like that. Like, how are you comfortable, sir? Anyway, so there's another update. There's so many updates. I know the comment section must be filled. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for all the advice. I read as many of the comments as I could and took in all the information I wanted to provide an update. My wife finally started talking to me again. And when she did, I told her that I wanted to have a conversation about the situation, but I wanted to give it a couple of days for emotions to settle down. Some of the comments here gave me a great idea, and I wanted to see what she thought about it. For all future trips, I will have my tickets, she will have hers. I typically drive to the airport and leave my car in one of the pay lots. So I would drive myself and she could Uber. She would have all the freedom she wants to do what she wants, but it is up to her to arrive on time and to board that plane. Ugh. This is leading to divorce. It's leading down that road. It's leading down. There's going to start being breaking the affection, breaking the communication, breaking the. This is going to be breaks, chops and screws and breaks. She would have all the freedom she wants to do what she wants, but it's up to her to arrive on time and to board that plane. I let her know that it was starting to feel like I needed to keep track of both of us. I phrased it in a way to make it sound like I didn't want to be controlling over her and let her manage her own time. She wasn't happy with this, but she reluctantly agreed. She was hoping that her, this is me saying that, she was hoping that her little tantrums that she's basically throwing would get you to go along with what she wants. I guess she's just surprised that you put your foot down, and I'm surprised too because now, to get to the bigger issue that I didn't realize we had until reading the comments of this post, call me oblivious. Yes, you are, sir. You're definitely oblivious. But I really never thought there was any issue between Meg and Jess. How? I guess. After talking to my wife, she wouldn't admit to any issues and stated that she would never intentionally delay a flight so that we couldn't see our daughter and acted offended that I would even ask such a thing. If that was her actual purpose, I don't think I would be able to prove it. But it will be at the forefront of my mind in the future. Mm, a divorce is incoming. After talking to Meg and Jess, we decided on the following. Meg and I will be visiting Jess on Parents Weekend, but I will be attending Father's Weekend from now on, and I will be attending by myself to get some alone time with my daughter, Jess. Jess seemed very excited, and surprisingly, Meg didn't seem to have an issue with that this time. Meg noticed she was caught. Meg realized that that 1 week of not talking to you only got you to have more sense. It didn't work. Okay, and you know what I mean? She don't really want all the problems for real, for real. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to read and to give me advice. I really appreciate everything and I hope these steps can work towards a resolution for the issues. I see a divorce incoming. I see another update coming where he gonna tell us we are divorced. Or maybe Meg gonna get it together. Maybe Meg is realizing acting like a child, man. It's a big adult. I understand that you can't conceive and that there's a hurt and a pain there, but go to therapy or something. Like taking it out on a kid. I don't understand grown adults, men, women, that get into relationships with anyone that you're getting into relationship with and have some type of animosity towards the child. I can see why the child is throwing a tantrum, but why is your big ass doing it? If you don't cut it out, you know what I mean? All right, let's get into the comment section because, as you know, this is read the comments. So let's see what people were saying to even get him to give us so many updates because the updates were many. They were plenty, okay? Stardust Stuffing says, God, this will drive me crazy. Me too. I predict the problem will persist. Me too. And the wife will find some way to blame her husband because she clearly has issues taking accountability for her actions. Me too. I believe that too. Okay. Somebody responded, Katori responded and said, well, the plan about their own ticket seems pretty smart. Then Meg will have literally nowhere to turn to lay the blame. And then the person edited to reply to all the people saying that she'll still find a way to displace blame and said, like, yeah, I know she probably will, but the excuses will be a lot flimsier and people can more easily call her out on her BS. Like, even if she does blame the ticket agent, op, the family can still come back with, guess that means you got to get there earlier next time, just in case you get another bad agent. Hope you learned something today. You know what I mean? Stardust responded to that and said, remember when she had to get Starbucks and he had told her not to because she'd missed the flight? He somehow got blamed for that. Some people are pathological about deflection and refusing accountability. And I can't date nobody like that. I don't got time. I don't if you can't apologize when you're wrong, just let me know. Let me personally, I'm gonna hit you with that was my intention. If that's not my intention, if I believe that what I did was right, or if I said something and offended you, but I'm standing 10 toes on it, then you're not getting an apology. God bless you. But if I said something and it offended you, or something happened, I did something, and my intention was not to offend, my intention was not to cause any issues, then I'm gonna apologize. I'm gonna tell you that my intentions is never nefarious as it pertains to you. I do apologize for doing it. I did it, even though my intentions wasn't negative. It was done, and so I apologize for doing that, for offending you, for upsetting you, whatever it is. If you can't apologize, we can't be friends. We can definitely ain't gonna date. Crazy. Katori responded and says, but that incident still made it inescapably clear to her that something had to change. She sat down and had a conversation about it, even if it took her a bit. So there was clearly some kind of impact. Hopefully, Meg won't need to be knocked down too many more pegs before she gets it together. LOL. Somebody responded and said, I feel like the complete stupidity of the coffee episode, coupled with him asking if she's sabotaging his trip to see his daughter, is what made her back down. She got caught. And she didn't expect to get caught. She believed that not talking to him for a week would have him, and she probably has done this before. This is probably something that has worked many times. And so therefore she was just running the normal play on him. It just didn't work this time. And she realized she got caught. She wasn't prepared for the conversation and the way the conversation went. And so she didn't have a comeback. You know what I mean? She couldn't think of nothing. Nothing. It feels like she got caught and wants to lay low for a bit. That's what I say. I know, malice and stupidity, etc. But dragging your feet so much that you leave the house at 9 when your partner woke you up at 7:40 and already had everything prepared. I missed my alarm for an early flight once. Woke up late and was out of the house in 15 minutes, including showering and blow drying my hair. I could forgive that stupidity, but then she needs to be shivered again on the following flight despite her lateness being the reason they missed the first one, and then insisting on Starbucks coffee 15 minutes before boarding. This is a woman who's capable of getting to other things on time and has presumably managed to travel by herself on other occasions. She's not treating this trip like it's an important visit to see their daughter. After being the reason it was delayed once, she should be determined not to have anything go wrong, but she isn't. And I believe that too. Somebody said, of course she did it on purpose and is lying about it. Somebody said, yeah, she's not late to other things. Just literally said she's jealous. She's obviously doing it on purpose. And I believe that. Somebody said, people who are too self absorbed to accept they messed up will always find a way to blame someone else. And that's not a person I want to be around. That would be, that would take a lot out of me. The gymnastics. Because I'm not even looking. It's like, what? Somebody even said something you're trying to figure out. What? Okay, bye. Because what? Somebody said there used to be an Atlanta bread company in the HM of Hartsfield, Jacksonville. That's in Atlanta. as well as in Concourse, Connecticut. When I would visit my best friend, she always asked me to bring her a sandwich. These were the good old pre 9/11 days. Now, I'd get the sandwiches, go through security, and head to Concourse B for my flight. Fast forward, and the ATM located has closed, so now there's only Concourse C. Literally planned an extra hour and 20 minutes to make sure that I could get to Concourse C, could wait 30, 40 minutes for the food, and still have time to walk back to Concourse B, which is the furthest gate should the plane train break down. Op's wife is an idiot. And she didn't do it maliciously. If she didn't do it maliciously, because there isn't any scenario where I'd expect less than an hour to get to another concourse and wait for food or drink. This person is saying, listen, she it wasn't a priority to her. Something as simple as a sandwich for my friend when I go to visit my friend is something that I never miss. So if you wanted to go see their daughter, she would have gotten there. Now, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm a late type. You listen, and it's happened to me many times. It's just that I am getting jealous from this situation. I am. I am. I definitely am. But I've got left in Jamaica before, visiting Jamaica. JetBlue. JetBlue, so you have to reach here 4 hours early, I think it is. Yeah, because America is 3 hours. So Jamaica, JetBlue in Jamaica, so you have to reach at the airport 4 hours before the flight leaves. Who's doing that? Are you dumb? I'm not about to sit and do what? So I showed up 2 hours before the flight. Baby, they sold my seat. Talking about there's no space on the flight, it's already done. You can't get on this plane. What? It almost happened to me in Mexico, and it always happens when I'm flying. I'm in a big NY, the Big Apple, and JFK is crazy. JFK is big and it is crazy, and I probably should get there. I've gotten there before and only had a carry on, and the person at the front said, "If you can run and get over there, go ahead." Because I was begging the person, I said, I don't have no bags to check, ma'am. Please, 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 please. I cannot miss this flight, ma'am. Please, 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 ma'am. I beg you, miss. And then he said, okay, I'm going to print this ticket for you. But you're going to have to run to that gate. Good luck because you're boarded. I want to tell you something. Make it. Pop, pop. What? You should. I was begging people to cut the line, to go through security. Lucky me, I did get through. You had some little nicey whiteies. You had the little complainers, but I ain't look at them. Got through security. I made sure that I had nothing on and everything planned, ready to go through security with my electronics and everything. Quick, quick, quick. Bop, grab my bag, and me and the suitcase run into JFK. Made it there. And I was hungry on that flight. I wasn't going to stop to get no Starbucks. It's just her attitude and her lack of accountability. Because why would I ask you to get off the flight? Let's say that me and my sister was flying. Let's say I'm flying with my partner and my actions caused me to miss the flight. Why would I be over there on the phone telling you to get off the flight? I wouldn't do that. I would just be like, girl, I can't come on. I'm about to catch the next flight. All right, I'll see you there. Simple. Somebody says, right? Also, silent treatment for over a week. How do these people even exist? That sounds so exhausting. Somebody responded and said, she's completely ridiculous. Poor man has to nag her like she's a 3-year-old just to get her to the damn airport, and she still manages to fail spectacularly. It's clear she doesn't want to see his daughter. I think we got the point, and I think we're all on the same page here. Hop in my comment section and tell me, do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you a late person like myself here and Shorty on Miss Meg here? Are you the type to be late? Have you ever missed a flight? Have you ever got stuck anywhere waiting on a flight because you missed a flight? Tell me, hop in my comment section, and I'm gonna see you in the next comment section. I might even read your comment.